Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Wednesday, June 4th. If you join me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We're going over my Core Picks. There's going to be 5 players in total, 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent success. And then after that, we can move over my cheat sheet and talk about my top teams to stack for GPPs for Wednesday's slate overall. And then in the morning, I'll be posting early morning weather report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then I'll have as many of these starting lineups as I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening down in that comment section as well. So definitely make sure that you are checking up down there, especially as we do get closer to lock. But without further ado, we're going to jump right into it with the core picks. We're going to start off at that pitcher position. And I have Nick Pivetta here. He is the most expensive pitcher on the slate. He is $10,500. Currently averaging 37 fantasy points per game. Going against the San Francisco Giants, he's got pretty decent history versus them in the past. It is a little bit limited at that. He had one start versus them earlier this year where he got 40 fantasy points and did not pitch against them last season in 2024. So definitely do like his upside. I was expecting Chris Sale to be the most expensive pitcher on the slate, so if you want to go with Chris Sale here at $400 less, you can definitely look at him against the Arizona Diamondbacks at $10,100. Both are very, very viable options at that pitcher position. But with that being said, we're going to look at what Nick Pivetta has done so far in the season. 6 wins, 2.74 ERA, and once again averaging about 37 fantasy points per game at $10,500. And then we're going to move down to our hitters. We're going to start off with Paul Goldschmidt, $3,300, averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Cleveland Guardians, and is Luis Ortiz as the expected starting pitcher for them. And in his career versus Luis Ortiz, he's 7 for 10. Paul Goldschmidt has at least one hit in 4 out of his last 6 games. Only one multi-hit game during that time span, 1 home run. 2 double-digit performances in 4 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So looks like a solid, steady, safe floor option. Obviously could have some upside there at the same time as well. Definitely do like Paul Goldschmidt just in general, and this Yankees team stacked up against Luis Ortiz just in general. But if we look at what Paul Goldschmidt's done on the season in totality, he has a .327 batting average, 6 home runs, 28 RBIs, once again averaging just under 11 fantasy points per game at $3,300. Then we're going to move down to second base with Brandon Lowe, $2,800. He's averaging almost 10 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Texas Rangers, and Kumar Rocker is expected to make his return tomorrow for that Texas Rangers team. In his career versus Kumar Rocker, Brandon Lowe is 1 for 3. He's been doing pretty well as of late, though. He has at least one hit in 13 out of his last 14 games. 3 multi-hit games during that time span, so that's probably like the one downside with him, but he does have 4 home runs, 7 double-digit performances, and 10 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher, so definitely do like the floor of Brandon Lowe, which is not something that we're going to say too often, but he is a very good player going against Kumar Rocker, a very attractive matchup there, and he's been on quite a big hot streak as of late. He's up to a .242 batting average, 11 home runs, 31 RBIs, and once again averaging just under 10 fantasy points per game at $2,800. And then we're going to move down to the outfield with Jonathan India of the Kansas City Royals. You can also play him at second base and third base, but I did want to throw him in that outfield spot for the core picks today. $2,500, averaging just under 7 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the St. Louis Cardinals is Miles Mikolas on the mound. For that Cardinals team, he is 8 for 25 with 3 home runs versus Miles Mikolas in his career. He has at least one hit in 5 out of his last 7 games. He has 4 multi-hit games during that time span. 0 home runs, unfortunately, there, though. 1 double-digit performance in 3 games of 9 fantasy points or higher. So the upside hasn't been there quite as much as of late, but he's at $2,500. Very versatile option, very good value play, at least early on in the day. Maybe this one changes like if we get some other like crazy value out there, but definitely do like Jonathan India in this matchup. Probably hitting leadoff once again for this Kansas City Royals team. He's up to it, and he is currently hitting .235 with 1 home run, 13 RBIs, and averaging about 7 fantasy points per game at $2,500 once again on the season. And then last but not least, we're throwing a guy down the utility spot. Typically, I don't like to do this, but Jonathan Aranda is only eligible at first base at this point in time. Either way, he would have overlapped with Brandon Lowe if he was eligible at second base. But he's at $3,000, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game. Going against Kumar Rocker, making his return from the IL, as I did mention with Brandon Lowe. But in his career versus Kumar Rocker, Jonathan Aranda is 1 for 2, and he's been doing really well as of late. He has at least 1 hit in his last 8 games started, 5 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 5 double-digit performances, and 6 games of at least 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely do like his upside that he's shown quite a bit as of late. He's up to a .320 batting average, 7 home runs, 31 RBIs, averaging just over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,000. So definitely do like the upside of Jonathan Aranda and this Rays team overall. But with that being said, if you go the 5 players that do currently have listed here, you got $12,900 remaining. Obviously, if you go with Chris Sale instead of Nick Pivetta, you'd be at $13,300. And going the Nick Pivetta route, that leaves us just over $3,200 remaining per player. So a good amount of money remaining to spend up. If you go the Chris Sale route, right around $3,300 remaining per player. Either way, a good amount of money remaining. Obviously, stacks will play a pretty big role, even though this is a little bit larger Wednesday slate than we've seen in recent weeks, but definitely should make for a pretty good one overall. But with that being said, we'll give it over to my cheat sheet and talk about those top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday slate overall. So I do have 5 teams listed here. So I have the New York Yankees going against Luis Ortiz. Not a long list of history there, but some guys that have hit him really well in the past, whether it's Paul Goldschmidt, Trent Grisham, Aaron Judge, those would be the top 3 for me. And then we have the Athletics going against Zebby Matthews of the Minnesota Twins. If they can get on him early, usually pretty good things are going to happen. That's kind of been the weak spot with Zebby Matthews. Most of his damage he gives up early on in the games. As soon as he starts selling, and it's probably pretty good at that point in time. Then we have the Tampa Bay Rays. Obviously talked about 2 of them in my core picks, but going against Kumar Rocker, making his return from that injured list. Probably not pitching too deep in this game. Definitely do like the upside of that Rays lineup just in general. And then we move over to the Baltimore Orioles going against Emerson Hancock of the Seattle Mariners, who has not pitched well so far this season. I believe the Orioles have no career history versus him at the same time as well, or very, very minimal history at that. And then last but not least, we have the Seattle Mariners going against K. Povich, and I believe there is no history there versus K. Povich in the past. So definitely some matchups that we could take advantage of. A lot of matchups that don't have a long list history, so definitely feel free to mix and match from those teams just as you do see fit. But with that being said, these are my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Wednesday, June 4th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Once again, in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher listed there. And then I'll be posting as many of these starting lineups I can get to throughout the afternoon and early evening. So definitely be sure to check up down in the comment section, especially as we do get closer to the lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. It helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now we have MLB DFS in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. I got my CFL DFS video coming out once a week that will be coming out tomorrow on Wednesday, so definitely be on the lookout for that. And then I will also be sharing my UFL DFS playoff sheet over on Patreon, and I'll be making that free this week just as a thank you for everybody that did follow along this season for UFL DFS content, whether that is watching the UFL DFS videos themselves or subscribing to the Patreon and checking it out over there at the same time as well. Definitely do appreciate that. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you're a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's a 125% match up to $2,000. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Wednesday, June 4th.